Amrutha's mind drifted back to a week ago. When she had gone out with Sanjay, she remembered seeing an older woman watching him from a distance. The woman's eyes were filled with a strange mix of profound love and deep sorrow. At the time, Amrutha hadn't paid much attention to it, but now the memory came flooding back, bringing with it a heavy sense of suspicion. Does she have some connection to Sanjay? Amrutha wondered. Determined to find the truth, she made up her mind to track the old woman down. For the next few days, Amrutha relentlessly searched for her. She visited the areas where the woman was last seen, asking the locals and speaking to anyone who might know her. But it was like chasing a ghost. There was absolutely no information. Exhausted from the endless searching, Amrutha was walking down a dusty road one afternoon, ready to give up. Just then, she looked up, and there in the distance was the very same old woman. Amrutha quickly approached her and asked in a soft, gentle voice, "Mother, why do you always look at Sanjay like that?" The old woman froze in her tracks, completely taken aback. Shock registered on her face, and not knowing what to say, she remained frozen in silence. As Amrutha looked around the woman's small, humble hut, her eyes landed on an old painting. In the portrait, the queen stood beside another young woman. The second woman's eyes radiated pure innocence and absolute peace. "Who is this?" Amrutha asked, pointing to the painting. But the old woman remained painfully silent. Realizing she needed to build trust, Amrutha spoke with deep seriousness. "Things are not going well in our kingdom. There have been continuous conspiracies against Aditya. I don't know who is doing this or what will happen next, but I strongly suspect the queen." The moment those words left Amruta's mouth, tears welled up in the old woman's eyes. After a heavy, heartbreaking silence, she finally opened her mouth to speak. "The queen had a younger sister," the old woman began, her voice trembling with the weight of the past. "The king loved her sister deeply, and she loved him back with all her heart. But the queen was greedy. She wanted to marry the king solely to seize power over the kingdom. To achieve this, she coldly decided to separate her sister from the king. When the queen tried to poison her sister's mind against him, her sister refused to believe the lies. She knew she was pregnant with the king's child, and she believed with all her heart that if she told him, he would immediately come to marry her. Realizing her plan was failing, the cruel queen forged a fake letter in the king's handwriting. The letter read, "I do not love you, and I do not want this child." When the pregnant sister read those devastating words, her heart shattered. Unable to bear the agonizing pain of rejection, she took her own life. To cover up her horrific crime, the queen burned the house down, destroying the fake letter along with it. The old woman wiped her tears, her voice now filled with anger. She hid the truth that Sanjay was actually the biological son of her sister and the king. The queen then went to the king's parents, manipulating them by saying she loved him and asking for his hand in marriage. Even though the king confessed he only loved her late sister, his parents, believing she was dead, convinced him to let go of the past and marry the queen. After the marriage, the queen brought Sanjay into the palace, introducing the king's own flesh and blood as merely an adopted orphan. She planned to use the boy as a weapon, ruining his true destiny. The old woman broke down completely. "I am their mother. She killed my daughter and burned our home to ashes. She thought I died in that fire, but I barely survived. I tried so many times to rescue Sanjay from her clutches, but she always had guards surrounding him." Desperate, the old woman reached out and tightly grasped Amrutha's hands. "Please, you must tell him the truth. Sanjay needs to know who he really is." Hearing this tragic history, Amrutha's heart ached for Sanjay. She resolved that she had to tell him the truth. Yet a heavy burden fell upon her shoulders, and she constantly hesitated, terrified of how this earth-shattering reality would destroy him.